My name is Catherine Molly, and I'm a member of our Speakers Committee, and I'd like to welcome you to this session with Cecilia Rose on Setting Your Own True North, How to Chart Your Career Course. A little bit about Cecilia. She is the CEO-President of Nextdoor Strategies, an ICF credentialed executive career strategist working with mid-cap to global 50 Fortune companies as an executive coach, change agent, trusted advisor, provocateur, and motivational corporate keynote speaker. She is recognized as an authority on coaching executives and professionals who are either stuck in their career, at an impasse, or ready to open the door to new opportunities. She, as you will see, she is dynamic and high energy and known for taking the pain out of change, accelerating the epiphany process, and turning a presentation into an experimental event. Without further ado, Cecilia Rose.
Thank you. I didn't get to make my way down over here, so maybe afterwards I can get to talk to this side of the room and find out names and stuff like that. Thank you. That was lovely. Kind of made me want to shout. So, I am so excited about being at WEN. I love WEN. And whenever I think about WEN, I think about a win-win. WEN with an E and WIN with an I, because if you belong to WEN, it's a win-win. So, with no more ado, before we jump in, I just want to establish my credibility with the nautical theme. So this past week I was thinking, okay, I'm going to be talking about boats, and I'm going to be talking about going down the river of life and everything. So where do I have that experience, right? So I dated Robert Cochan back in my late 20s, and he owned a really big boat, okay? And we went out on the boat several times. She's looking at me like, I'm not good now. This is going to happen. Okay. So we go out on this really big boat, and he was a biomarine who was a sailor in his heart. You know, probably in a past life he was a Norseman or one of those people, Viking kind of people. But anyway, so we're on this really big boat, and there were friends on there. We had a lovely time. We had wine, we cavorted, we frolicked, we got a little sun, I kind of lay there. So then one night he said, let's go out on a midnight sail. Oh my God, I get scared. It's so exciting. We broke up not too long after that, because this is when I really learned about sailing, okay? Okay, we almost ran aground. I thought I was going to be out there drinking a little champagne, having a little pate. No, he's going, go in here, get the rope. And then I had to row him. Oh, we're running aground. Move over there. I'm sweating like a little piglet. And I'm not feeling very romantic. But I learned about boats get grounded. I know about being in the dark, lost at sea. Okay. Then there was one other experience that I have that I think should be counted. I have a very good friend, Joan Isham, who some of you may know Joan, and her husband, who is also a good friend, Martin, he's a sailor too. So I went out on their boat, and thank God there were other people on the boat that liked running around and getting ropes, and then when that big sail comes over and knocks you in the head, and if you don't move really fast, I mean, you could end up in the water. So I said, this really relates to careers. Are y'all with me? Yes. Okay, your excitement's overwhelming me here. So I just want y'all to know I got credibility in this subject. There was a third one. I can't remember. Oh, yeah, that was Tom. We went and caught a fish. So anyway, those are my three claims to credibility for my topic. So I wanted to make sure that y'all got that. So what we're going to talk about is setting your true north. And I wanted to start out with this quote. I believe that leaders of the future will be those who develop this capacity. Agility and adaptability are mandatory. As leaders prepare, manage, and sometimes reinvent themselves in order to navigate the twists, turns, and transitions that we all must make. So if any of you are in oil and gas, and I think it would be everyone, y'all know that things are happening in our world. And there's a lot of uncertainty. Now, this is what I've learned in my personal maturation. This is also called life. And the sooner we learn how to navigate the waters and navigate the turbulence and navigate, even when it's smooth, there's still a certain expertise that one needs to have in navigating a boat. They did let me stand and hold that big steering wheel once, but it's because we were going in a straight line. But when that boat starts moving or it starts getting rocky, things happen. And so you want to be really clear on how to navigate that. And then one more, I can't change the direction of the wind, but I can adjust my sails to always reach my destination. So this is about empowering. This is about that you are the captain of your own boat. You are the captain of your career. And I don't believe, and this isn't just for women in this particular case. You know, the men I work with are just as guilty as the women. Here they are, incredibly strategic for their company, making all of these huge decisions. And when I ask them about their own personal strategic plan, nary a one has one. And so this is what I can tell you is one of the biggest favors that you can do for yourself, and we're going to talk about this, and that's having your own strategic career plan. So let's talk about some basic statistics that we know right now. 65 to 70% of professionals do not like the job they have, and they wish they were doing something else. So a lot of them are meditating on their navel while they're at work. Some of them are keeping their head down, hoping nobody sees them. We come up with all kinds of ways when we're not happy. And what we don't realize is that complacency kills careers. It kills careers. And what happens is we get stuck. We're between a rock and a hard place. Because we look at this and we go, oh my gosh, if I leave, then I've got to look for a job. Oh my God, that's hard. And if I stay, I'm really, really miserable. Plus, I'm setting myself up for that being noticed that I'm not happy. Have you, with anybody that works for you or colleagues, can you tell when they're not happy? Yeah. I mean, we try to hide it, don't we? But it comes out one way or the other, right? So know that organizations, it's like when someone is in the interviewing process. When you don't ask in the interviewing process about asking about, you know, their environment, the culture, and you don't show some kind of enthusiasm, or you don't say, I would love to be on your team, or you don't ask for the job, not so much. Not so much. I cannot tell you how many times my clients have come back to me a while ago, because now I circumvent that quickly, but in my early years, they would come back and they would say, well, you know, you didn't, the recruiter said that the person, the hiring manager, I didn't ask for the job. I didn't have any energy. And so many times they'll come in and they'll say, you know, I know I have the job. I have the job, I have the job, and then they don't have the job. And what ends up happening is it's almost always going to go back to an energetic or an interaction with those people as far as culture is concerned, and seeing if there's a match, and when the person sees that there's a match, asking for the job. And that's something we're going to talk about also. Also, research shows that 78% of professionals do not achieve their career goals. That really got you excited, I can tell. Oh, yeah, right. So, I mean, this is staggering. So what does that mean that we do? You know, it's like, back to our nautical theme, the boat on the water drifting. It drifts because nobody is at the what? Yes, nobody's at the helm. And so we abdicate. And in the past, companies took care of us, didn't they? They developed us, right? We're going to send you over there, we're going to send you over here, we're going to develop you. How much developing have you seen since the economy has been impacted over the last 10 years or more? Very little, right? It's not to the same degree it once was. So what does that mean? We have been like, okay, hold on to your socks. We've like got to take responsibility for our career. Oh my God, what's that about? I mean, I've got to like make decisions. That is just blows people away. So now let's come into the women context piece of this. So negotiating salary, what we know is for a woman, and she'll earn over $1 million by the time she retires if every time she comes up for a promotion, she asks for more money. Over $1 million. And then in the Boggle experiment, I don't know where they came up with that name. God must have been Mr. Boggle or Ms. Boggle. Betty Boggle, I think was her name. The gains were also great. Everyone who asked for more money received $10, 3 times as much as those who didn't ask. And the ones who didn't ask were lucky to get $3. And that was for the whole year. Y'all are very intense today. Oh, man. This is your subject, isn't it? Y'all are just laser focused, thinking about how much money did I leave on the table? Well, hold on, because here, look at this next one. 2002 study, this is what women pay. That 7% of the women who negotiated for more money versus the 57%, the men got an average of $4,000 more. And so what's the difference? The difference is conditioning. Men are conditioned, and I cannot tell you how many times with my male clients, it's like, well, why wouldn't they want to pay me? Why wouldn't they want to pay me more? Whereas women deflect. And they go into their deflecting mode. Okay? So the one major career mistake that will cost you over $500,000 is that at the beginning of your career, if you do not negotiate your first job. Shocking, isn't it? How much money did you lose? Plus 50? Maybe more. Maybe. So this is how women react when they're told to ask. You gotta be kidding! Ask? Well, what if they don't like me? What if they like single me out if I ask for some more money? You know her? She's the I'm not enough. I'm not enough. What about her? She looks like one of my former clients. And she called me not too long ago. We had a few meetings. She's with one of the top 5 oil and gas companies in the world. And they do their do-si-do, where they send you over into a whole other area so that you can learn something new. And so we were talking, and I said, well, you need to ask. And she went, oh my God! So after several meetings, she was able to ask, and guess what she found out? They really like her. And she's really doing a stellar job. And she got an outstanding performance. But she's coming under, and let me tell you what. She's very fortunate that her boss and her boss's boss overlooked the fact of this, because most of them won't. No. Does that look like she's got on a power suit? Not seeing the power suit. Her, you know her? When she was asked to ask. So what we want to do is look at where do we stand and where do we stand firm. And this is what the True North is about. It's time to own your own career. It's time. It's time. And when we take the time to own our own career, like every woman that's sitting here, y'all would not be here if you were not interested in being the captain of your own destiny. One time at one of my roundtables, I had a woman in there, who her salary, well, let me not go there first. I was talking about a website that I thought that they really should check into. And this website, hold on, was $300 for a year. So divide that by 12, okay? So I said that was a very good, it was an excellent website that I encouraged them to be participatory. And she said, but Cecilia, they charge. How do people make money if they don't charge? Okay? So I said, and I was trying to contain myself. And I said, you know what? You brought up one of my most favorite subjects. I call it, and those of you that don't know me, I have my MSU, I make stuff up. So what I do is I observe, and then out of that I make something up that aligns with my observations. And I said, this is what I call white collar entitlement. Your company paid for your MBA. Your company paid for your membership. Your company paid to send you here. Your company paid to send you there. Where is your skin in the game? She makes between $5,000 and $6,000 a year. So what happens is we don't do things because the company isn't paying for it. Well, who has noticed that the company's not paying so much anymore? We're getting weaned, aren't we? Like a little baby at the mother's breast. It's like, okay, you have the milk. Hope you're doing okay. We're moving on. Right? So I want you to think about, what do you do when the company says we're not going to pay for that? Because if you think about it, if they're paying for everything, then you go home cash clear. I mean, it's all yours, right? But if you're not investing in yourself, if you're not engaging in doing things, and let me say something else, especially with STEM, which, you know, we're all really, really, really STEM people, and that's what makes, for most everybody in here, STEM is what got you to where you are. Does anybody need me to tell them what STEM is?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for that. Y'all just got 50,000 points. Science, technology, listen to y'all. Mathematics, STE, engineering. Okay, so I spelled something else, but go with me. But that's the basis, okay? But what I want y'all also to do is, as far as investing in yourselves, I want you to take some classes in your right brain too. That's where the leadership lives. You know, leadership lives over there. And ideally what we want to do is we want to marry both of them. But that's another talk. So I have to stay on point. So these are the questions I want to know if you're willing to ask yourself. Because these are the questions that I have found that hold people back, hold women back particularly. And that is, are you willing to improve your life? A lot of times it's easier just to talk about improving your life than to actually improve your life. It's a lot like losing weight. You know, this is a little tight, but am I willing not to eat that bread pudding last night? So, now let me tell you what I did to work that through. Okay? I didn't have any dessert today. But it's not that you have to be really rigid or strict, but you've got to begin to ask yourself these questions. But let me tell you, out of all of these questions, this tends to bring people to their knees. Does anybody know why? And that would be a no.
Because you're challenging authority.
That's part of it. Thank you for that. And may I go a little bit further with you on that? It depends on the mother's mindset, and in addition to that, What's going on here is we do not want to pass our mother by. And we don't even realize we're doing that. It's like a friend of mine years and years ago. She had built this business. It was absolutely doing phenomenally. Unbelievably phenomenal. And then all of a sudden she hit a wall. And as we began to talk about it, what unfolded is she had come from a very, very, very poor family in upstate, East Texas. And so she did not want to do better than her father because she felt like that might embarrass him. Not realizing her father would be thrilled. But we have these assumptions that we make, and in making those assumptions, what happens is we hold ourselves back from doing what we are assuming that we should or should not do. And the majority of it is not even conscious. It's not even conscious. So we do these things. In fact, I'll give you a very current example. One of my former clients, who again is, she's very, very high up in one of the major oil and gas companies, and she was, let me see how that went. So she is like an amazing person. She's a mentor. People look up to her. Just phenomenal. However, she got offered a position in a nonprofit. And so she said, money's not an issue for me. I've done really, really well. I can really do whatever I want, and I'm not really feeling appreciated lately. That tells you how powerful it is to value your people, right? And so we started talking, and this is what came out of the conversation. Okay? She too had come from a very poor family. Not everybody comes from a poor family. It just so happens these are two examples I got on the top of my shelf. Okay? But anyway, in this particular case, that happened to be the situation. I mean, I'm not making it up. It's true. And so I said, well, how did you get to where you are in your career? And she said, it was a struggle. I said, who else struggled in your family? My father and my mother and my grandparents. I said, so you're really familiar with struggling. So now you're in your career, you're at a place in your career where guess what? No struggle. It's not familiar. So you got to go create a struggle. I said, what kind of message is that to the women that you are mentoring? That you get to a place, you no longer struggle, you throw it out the window, instead of using where you are as a platform to go up against or with the organization to include and show them that they can get to a point where struggle can subside. Anybody having a thought on this? You having a thought, Catherine? Okay. A thought you want to share? Not so much. Okay.
I agree.
Okay, so you agree. But do you see what I'm saying? This looks like a very innocuous question, but this is a very, very, very powerful question. We did not happen in a vacuum. A lot of you are in professions because one of your parents was in the profession also. What we know is most first-time careers, when you first come into your career, will almost always be dictated in some form, fashion, either consciously or unconsciously in the family. And then when you start hitting your 30s, that's when you begin to look at things and choose things. It doesn't mean you won't continue that and decide you like it, but what could happen is that you do begin to see that there's other things that you may want to align with. So that's important. Are you willing to make more money? And let me tell you why I ask that. Because when I say, are you willing, most people, if I say, do you want to make more money? Well, that's a really big leap because they know what that's going to entail. But if I say, are you willing to make more money, then maybe you can be willing to parcel out in small steps, and we're going to be talking about this, to where you can slowly stretch and change some of your behaviors that are no longer serving you to get you to where you say you want to go. My first yoga teacher, I remember like saying this, he said, okay, do you want it, Cecilia? Or do you just want to want to want? And I went, well, that's kind of rude. He said, because if you really wanted it, you'd have it. Oh my God. So does that mean that if I want it, I like have to go do something about it? I just can't sit there and go, oh, and maybe wriggle my nose a little bit and show up? He said, no, that doesn't work that way. So those of you that just found out the tooth fairy doesn't exist, I apologize. So are you willing to help others? Are you willing to be open to opportunities? Are you willing to do what you think you cannot do? So what I'd like for y'all to jot down real quick on a piece of paper, 3 things that you say, I can't do. I can't do this, I can't do that. I call them I can'tations. I can't do this, and I can't do that, and I can't do this, and I can't do that, and I won't do that, and I won't do this, and I won't do that. Well, y'all are amazing because y'all just don't even have any cans. That's amazing. Okay, so anybody have a can? Oh, good! Everybody that has a can gets 50,000 points, okay? So this is what I want you to think about. Well, first let me ask this. Is anybody willing, because this is really, I know when you're with your peers, is anybody willing to share a can't? You get 100,000 and so do you. Okay, tell us.
So, ask for the opportunity.
Ask for the opportunity. So asking is a challenge for you. Okay? And if I was to reframe that, how might I reframe it?
Take the opportunity. I don't know.
Well, may I help you? May I help you? Okay, so first is, say it again, please.
I'm afraid to ask for the opportunity.
She's afraid to ask for the opportunity. So we want to begin to look at, and we're going to talk a little bit more about this later, but we want to look at what that is. What that is how can I reframe it so that I can take it in? So maybe what I say is, back to investing in myself, I am going to invest in this, which will prepare me for that. Because we so many times think we have to jump these chasms. Okay? I'll give you an example. One of my former clients, he was with a financial institution in Europe for 15 years. He's from Houston originally. He came back to Houston where his family is. And he wanted 2 things. Number 1, he wanted to be in oil and gas. He was in financial services. And the second thing that he wanted is he wanted to be a CFO as his next step. Well, he hadn't been a CFO before, and it's one of those things you got to get credit to have credit. You can't have credit if you don't get credit and all of that thing. So he had like this catch-22 is what it's called. That's what it's called. So what we did is, he said, I can't be a CFO. I've never been a CFO before. And yet, when we did a T-chart on him, we saw that his financial background far exceeded the majority of CFOs. So we looked at that, and then we looked at the oil and gas. We put together a strategic plan. Oh my God, novel concept. We put together a strategic plan, and then what we did is we said, okay, when we look at these 2, to jump both of them is really going to be, nothing is impossible, but we really would have to get a flying pig and put him on it. Okay? That's the only way I could see it happening. So he made a choice to go with, let's first get him into oil and gas, and he's a deal guy. So what he did is went and got a few consulting opportunities, to your point, and so now he could legitimately put oil and gas on his resume. Do you see it's a step process? And then he was given this interview that he went on. They were looking for somebody with his abilities because guess why? Their CFO, this company CFO, did not have his skill sets to take the company to the next level. So they brought him in for 90 days. So when somebody gives you 90 days, what do you do? Okay? You know you better be dancing. You gotta be a dancing fool. Okay? He got his tap shoes on. He was just a dancing away. End of 90 days, because we were talking about how much money he should ask for. They far exceeded it before he got to ask. He did some powerful dancing. Then what happens is he starts with, then they said to him, hold on to your britches on this one. They said to him, what is your title? Well, we knew he couldn't be CFO. So he calls me up, he says, Cecilia, I want to know a title. And you know, titles aren't important to me. That's when I knocked him over into another room, okay? Because he's the one that wants to be a CFO. So if they're really, titles aren't important, and you're being given an opportunity to choose any flipping title you want. And so he comes back, and I said, I want a title tomorrow. He comes back with a title, the length of the Yangtze River. And I said, you know, somebody that doesn't believe in titles, this is a heck of a long title. SVP of, you know, pirouetting, commercial, deal making, financial, whatever. Wouldn't even fit on a business card. So we brought that in, so we get the business card together. I mean, not the business card, we get the title, he goes in, they say, fine. Fine. Your wishes aren't command. That's your title. So life goes on, and so he contacts me about a year and a half later. He said, because we now need to start going into the next part of the strategic plan, I'm now ready to move into a CFO position. So we begin to work on that. In the meanwhile, back at the ranch, guess what? CFO retires. He is made the interim CFO. Now, usually if you're made interim CFO, that doesn't mean that you are a sure thing. It's usually interim. Okay? But let me tell you what he did for his strategic plan. Do you know what he did? No. I'm going to tell you. What it did is he could now legitimately put CFO on his resume. So do you see this as a process? But if you don't have a plan, if you're not owning your career, if you're not standing at the helm of it, you're going to miss a lot of opportunities. So to your point, do you see how we can begin to work with that? Thank you for that. And you also said that you would share one.
Yes, it's kind of dumb because it's not really directly related to what I do. It's just,
It doesn't have to be.
It's just something I always wanted to do, but I haven't done.
No disclaimer.
I want to write a book. I have a lot of stories that are really funny, and some of them make you cry, and I keep putting it off.
And you put it off because
I'm a single mother with 2 children. I work full time. I have no family here. I do it all on my own. I'm involved in the church. I'm involved in WEN. I'm in
Okay, and what is your name?
Liz.
Okay, so to Liz's point, if you notice what else she told us, all the reasons in the world why she can't. Next question, how badly do you want to write this book?
Obviously, it's not been bad enough to prioritize.
So you're not in enough pain yet?
No, but it's a goal that I have maybe within the next 8 years.
So let me ask you this. If it's a goal in the next 8 years, what is one small thing that you could do
to write one of the stories down?
Would you be willing to do that? Mm-hmm. Would you be willing to check in with everybody in this room next week?
Well, the one that I probably lead with is not PC. Don't share it with my church, please. But yes.
And I will share with you one thing I did because I was like you. Mine's about 3 months away from coming into fruition. But one of the things I did about 5 years ago is do you ever get any free time? I mean, do these children sleep?
They do sleep. Yes, I wake about 5 a.m. and the last one goes down probably around 10.
Okay.
And I go down about 10 to
Okay. Do you have 15 minutes?
I have 15 minutes every second and fourth weekend.
Okay, so I want you to take those 15 minutes and I want you to get a piece of cardboard. Do you have any markers at your house?
Bazillion.
Okay, so she's got the resources. Okay? She's got the resources.
Crayons too. I got crayons.
And she's got crayons. So your job is to make your cover.
Oh, cool.
Actually, you could do it with your kids. Let them.
And you can do it with your kids. Look at her. Yeah, she's all about that.
It depends on the story.
You said I
But the point I'm making is, Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, either way, you're right. So, there comes a point that if you keep giving excuses, you need to do one of two things. You either need to say, I'm never going to do it. It sounded like a good idea, and I'm putting it to bed. Or I'm going to do one thing. And let me tell you why that's imperative. If you don't, you then begin to create energy leaks. And then you wonder why you're tired. And then you wonder why you don't have any energy to do anything. And then you don't understand why you can't connect with people. Because you are like a sieve energetically. And there's no building up of that energy to get you moving and to help you build traction. Okay? So you need to know where the North Star is. I mean, that's, oh, yes.
Can I ask a question?
Please.
Going back to your questions, one thing I noticed was not on your list was, are you willing to make more than your significant other?
Oh, my. Okay, what is your name? Huh?
Jill.
I'd like to support you in talking louder. Would you please pass that down? Okay. Did you hear what she said?
Yes.
And it will be up there next time. Thank you. Are you willing to make more than your significant other? That is huge. This is your homework. Everyone in here is going to go to Walgreens or whatever your local drugstore is. We just got some CVS ones. And you're going to buy a black and white mottled composition book like you had in high school. And you're going to write. Now, get a lockbox that'll lock it up. Because, and the reason why I say that is this is a place to be totally and absolutely honest. And if you're fearful that somebody's going to see it, or you're fearful that somebody may misconstrue what it is that you're saying, then you won't tell the truth. So if you can begin to write, and it's called inner dialogue, it's called stream of consciousness, it's called a whole lot of different things. You don't judge anything you're writing, you don't criticize anything you're writing, you don't judge, condemn, criticize, nothing. All this is letting whatever is in there have a voice. And in that, if you do that, and I will promise you this, and it doesn't have to be about making more money than your significant other, it just so happens that's perfect. But if you do this every morning, 3 pages, you could do more, but 3 pages minimum, I promise you in 6 weeks you will see major changes in your life. Because what's happening is everything that's ruminating up here, we got to get it out because there's no room for anything else. There's nothing to be creative in there. So would you get back to us on that, Liz?
Jill. Yeah.
I'm Jill. Oh, mea culpa, maxima culpa.
It's like
I've already solved it, but I'm used to
Oh, that was awesome. That's going up there. You have just changed my life. Yes.
I don't know if it's appropriate, but would women be comfortable raising their hand if they do make more than their spouse or significant other?
ladies. You're awesome.
Yes. Now I'm gonna be to you in a second. I want to build on what she just said and what she just did and what she just initiated. Where are you? There you are. Because let me tell you what. If you can do that, you can own your career. And if you're making what you're making right now, you can ask for more. Yes, Nanette.
So, Cecilia, one thing that I think that we haven't talked about is the reality of success. And I think a really hard question, in addition to what we heard earlier, is are you willing to sacrifice? Because
Yes.
there takes sacrifice to be successful, in addition to what, we've identified.
Can I get you to come on and do the rest of my talk?
Don't make me say yes, see. I can
Let me tell y'all what Danella said, she hit on, I wish I could spend hours with y'all. Y'all need to come to my workshop. But, she just hit on the core of it, and that is, what are you willing to do to have what you want? And let me tell you what, I am one of those people who do not believe you can have everything you want. You cannot drive down Bourbon Street and Westheimer at the same time. You cannot be in Texas and Louisiana at the same time. You cannot. But what you can do is make choices about what it is you do want and then balance those things. And be willing, to her point, is sacrifice. But no one seems to want to do that. We are jumping ahead at my thing, but I'm going to go with it, okay? Okay. One of my clients said to me 4 months ago, he said, Cecilia, the reason why his job search was so difficult, are y'all ready for this? Because I've never been rejected before. And people are rejecting me. This is a CFO. And people are rejecting me. And I went up to him, and I don't think he was expecting this. I am so sorry, Herschel, that you have never been rejected. That is the worst thing that can ever happen to anybody. And I say that in all sincerity. And I said to him, and because you have never been rejected before, you now have no muscle built to achieve your dreams. Life without adversity. And many of you, I'm sure you do not remember, because I think I'm a couple of years older, Christine Onassis. Her father was the wealthiest ship merchant, the wealthiest man in the world. And she even had a yacht named after her. Me, I get slammed with a sail. She committed suicide. So, and I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm just saying that if we're not building the muscle, and I promise I'm going to come back to your question. Write it down so we okay, I got that. So to Danetta's point, is sacrifice is also a part of building muscle. So we're gonna I promise Girl Scout honor, Danetta, I'm working it in. Thank you for that. She gets 100,000 points for that, okay?
I just wanted to be on the side.
North Star is. Now let me tell you something that people get confused with. Your North Star is not your destination. Okay? It's not the destination. The North Star is what guides you. When you get lost or off course. That's the purpose of the North Star, is to guide you to your destination. So for those of you, this is very important, you may want to make a picture of it, so you'll know where it is. This is Polaris, and it is the last star in the Little Dipper's handle. And here it is right across from the Big Dipper. So, homework. This weekend, everybody's got to take their kids, and if you don't have them, anybody that you can grab, you got to go out in the backyard and find Polaris. Because let me tell you why, and I know you laugh, you scoff, and you guffaw, but let me tell you why. When you do something like that, you get it in your bones. You're anchoring it. One of the most powerful things you can do with the people who report to you, or your loved ones, or your children, is that when you give them encouragement, and I say, Catherine, let me tell you what. Let me trip over your purse first. You know, the new job you have is just amazing. And I cannot think of anyone more deserving than you. And I know that this is just the beginning of many more things happening in your career. Now, if you'll notice, I should have asked you, can I touch you? So what happens is when I touched her and said that to her, I am now anchoring her. And so what we're looking for are touchstones or talismans that anchor us. Why do you think people have rabbit's feet? This was not what I was going to talk about. Yeah. Come on, y'all. If we follow it, I'm yours.
Well, since you're fluid, and I appreciate that, can we go back to the adversity?
Of course, I love adversity.
You know, the struggle is excellent, and by day, when I'm not putting off writing a book, I recruit, and that's the business I'm in. And so I think it's important to note, at least in my professional opinion, that your struggle brings you to life. You know, if you do have a struggle, don't be afraid to share it directly with the person you're speaking with, or somebody that's your advocate professionally as a third party, because that helps bring who you are to life. An example would be 4 years ago, I met somebody that I just adored. And I wasn't technically a recruiter. I was just in business development. But I tried to help this woman. She told me about her background. She was born and raised in Nigeria. We talked about what it was like growing up, what time she woke up, what she did before 7 a.m. Did she walk to school? Did she X, Y, and Z? And I was very impassioned to try to help her. I actually never placed her. She ended up taking a job in supply chain, which was not. She reached out to me about 8 months ago and said, "You changed my life." Wow. Because you believed in me. So helping her to share her story, because there's probably, everybody raise your hand, at least half this room, I bet, is in a position to hire somebody. And if you're in that position and somebody, let's just say it's somebody that's 1 to 2 years out of school even, aren't you going to take note if that person had to work to put themselves through college and it's noted on there? I mean, that's one example of an adversity. So I think adversity is a wonderful thing, and I don't think you should be afraid to share it.
Thank you. And I'd like to thank everybody that has so lovingly done my presentation for me. And I'm done. Y'all are awesome. Y'all are awesome. You are my people. And I'm going to share one quick thing before I go to the next slide, since y'all hit on this so hard. My book is, anybody familiar with The Hero's Journey? Joseph Campbell is the one that really brought that to our attention, that in everything we do, there is the hero's journey. Every book that's written, every movie. If you look at Harry Potter, it's the hero's journey. If you look at Ulysses, if you look at Hercules, if you look at
every successful romantic comedy.
Every successful romantic comedy it all follows the same pattern, and this is what the pattern is. There is a call to adventure, and you don't want to go. But what you don't know is you don't have a choice. So you get laid off, or you get a divorce, or your child brings home bad grades, or, it's a range of everything. And we go through the hero's journey on a regular basis. And the hero's journey is through adversity, the muscle is built. And so what mine is going to do, it's going to be called, instead of the hero's journey, because my clients don't like to be called heroes, even though they are my heroes, because I'm just the coach. I am not the one out there on the field, okay, getting kicked, okay? I think that's football or baseball. But anyway, so the point being is they're called to an adventure and the descent begins. And they start moving down, and as they move down, they meet mentors, they meet people who help them, helpers, they're called, as they go through this plunge and down, and then they hit the abyss. There's gold in the Nar Hills in the black night of the soul, the dark night of the soul. But what happens is not all people who journey there come back. There are some that get stuck like in the tar pits. If you ever watch Saturday Night Live, they had Debbie Downer. I think she lives there. Okay? So there are some people who don't learn. How many people do you know have lost their job, and then you would think that they would be a different person afterwards, and they're not? They're as arrogant as they were before, or they're as flippant as they were before, or whatever they were. They get stuck in those tar pits. The real leader, when they go through adversity, struggle, sacrifice, they mine the gold while they are in it. And I say to my clients, do not waste your crises. I cannot tell you how many crises that I've seen wasted. And I want to go back to the man that I was just telling you about, the rejection. So when I told him how sorry I was, he was telling us about a job offer he had. And I mean, it was so many red flags that I had to tell him, I have to take off my coach hat for a minute. And I have to put on a consultant hat. And I've got to show you the red flags. Everybody in the round table was waving red flags. Mine just happened to be like that. And he took the job. To his credit, he came back to the round table 4 months later. And I went, I did a double take. I mean, he had a job. What was he doing there? And he walks through the door and he said, you were right. And let me tell you what, he needed that experience. This is what I've come to believe. There are no mistakes. We don't make mistakes. And let me tell you why. When you make a decision, you don't have 5 minutes later, 5 hours later, 5 days later, 5 years later. You don't have that information. You make a decision with the information that you have. And in that, let me tell you what, everybody has experience, but not everybody learns from their experience. I have clients that have learned from the experience, which are the majority of them, and occasionally not so much. But then a few times later, they come back and they go, oh my God, I could have had a VA and I get it. So the point being is, then he comes to the round table and he's got another job that he's being offered. And he said, and I'm thinking, oh my God, here we go again. Second 2x4, right? But let me tell you what happened. The round table said to him, oh my God, I can't believe how much you've grown over the last 6 weeks. And they said, look at you. He was beginning to question. He was beginning to ask hard questions. He was beginning to go places that he never had to go before in his career because he always just got promoted until he was a CFO, and then he got another CFO position, and he never had to look, he never had to go into any real, hurling yourself on wall career journey. And let me tell you what, I have such a respect for that man that it's unbelievable. And the people that were in there that saw him go through these changes, unbelievable. So when we're willing to sacrifice, when we're willing to walk, and take on the journey in an attitude of I am willing to learn, I'm willing to go where I need to go because I know there's gold here. How many of you have had a situation where you didn't want to go, you went kicking and screaming, And then a little while longer, you went, oh my God, that's the best thing that ever happened to me. Okay, so we do. We have people in here that it happened. Well, you know what that's telling you. What's it telling you? Okay, so that means okay, so what that's telling you is you were learning things over that period of time that prepared you for the next thing. God bless you.
Thank you.
Yes, Dan. So, uncertainty is really what we, thank you. Uncertainty is really what we want to learn to do, not to do. We want to get comfortable with. Because that's what the world is more than ever. So the more you can get comfortable with uncertainty, the better you're going to be able to navigate your career, your life, your family. I don't know if you know this, but if you change 1 degree, one small thing, 1 degree on a compass, you can change it. You will change the entire trajectory of the boat. 1 degree. 1 degree. Did I say that? 1 degree. So jot down, you don't have to answer it right now, what 1 degree, if I changed it, would take me closer to what it is that I want. Now let's look at these boats here. This is exactly what we're talking about. When you're on a boat does not go straight into a headwind. A boat is constantly correcting course. What we tend to want to do is just wake up one day and be freaking happy. I gotta tell you, all of these happy books out there, I don't know what world they live in. I don't know. Because what I do know is that I would not appreciate the richness of my life if I didn't have all the difficulty and dark nights of the soul. I dated fear for 20 years, I think. I mean, really, that's where the gold is. That seed that's put in the ground is there and it's going, oh man, it's dark down here. Okay, that moved y'all. I can tell you. So quickly, the North Star, it's a guiding star. It's there in the darkest of the nights. But sometimes clouds come over and you can't see it. That's where the uncertainty comes in, and you've got to be prepared to still navigate, even when things are dark, even when you didn't get the promotion you wanted, even when you didn't get the job you wanted. Finding the gold no matter where you are, and being lost in the wilderness is not the time to try and figure out the North Star. So, does anybody know this about leaves? Green leaves, okay? Green leaves are chlorophyll over the top of the leaf. This is the true color of the leaf. The golds and the yellows and the reds. So when you can remove the green, the chlorophyll, and get down to who you really are, that's where you find out what kind of leader you are. Because you must have self-awareness. And until you get to know yourself, and you really are aware of what you're doing, how you're showing up, how you're impacting people, how you're impacting your own life, and those who report to you, you are then missing out, and you're the ones, and this is again another talk, but you're the one, well, let me reframe it. Do you know people that you cannot believe that they don't know what everybody else knows about them? Yes. That is a person with not a lot of self-awareness. And so that begins to tell you how critical self-awareness is not only to your career, but to you as a leader. Because real leaders know what they believe. And that's what you stand on when you're on that boat and you've lost your moorings, and you can't see the North Star, and you don't know how to get there, and it's really, really dark, and you're in the midst of adversity. You've got to know what you stand on. So let me tell you about this guy, Lord Kelvin. He's another one. I dated him for a while, 1899. I get around. So let me tell you about Lord Kelvin. Oh, I called him Willie, though. But anyway, this is a direct quote. Radio has no future. Heavier than air flying machines are impossible. X-rays will prove to be a hoax. In 1943, the IBM chairman, Thomas Watson, said, I think in the world market there's room for maybe 5 computers. Let me tell you why I bring him up. I bring him up because that is where we stand right now on a precipice that we're going to have people saying these kind of quotes today, when you're going to be able to actually have Dr. Spock in real life. I didn't date him. And what I'm telling you is we're hearing about holographic. I remember in the 8th grade somebody telling me that there would come a time that there would be, and I won't tell you what year that was, that there would come a time where when we were on the phone we could see the person. I still remember it today. I mean, it was just, oh my God. And you know what else they said? They said there will come a time where you will be able to tap into the ethers and hear Abraham Lincoln, I get cold chills every time I think about this, saying the Gettysburg Address in the present. That's what he's talking about. He's saying things that we cannot even fathom. The jobs that you have today may not even exist in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. So if you're not comfortable with adversity and you're not comfortable with uncertainty and you're not uncomfortable with living in the unknown, and what I call the liminal stage, I'm no longer who I was, I'm not yet who I am becoming. I am left that trapeze, I haven't caught that one. This is where I am. You've got to know who you are and what you believe in order to do that. I strongly suggest that if you do not have a personal manifesto, you write one. And that's what happens. People say it in their head, but they never put it in paper. And let me tell you what, when you take it from here to paper, write it down, make it happen. Get clear on who you are. And because we've kind of done a do-si-do with the talk today, this is something that those of you, I'm going to throw up a slide in a few minutes. If you text me, you will not only get a copy of the slides, but the audio, and I will also send you some bonus slides. So this is really incredible. I want you to write, I believe, I believe, I believe. What do you believe? What do you believe? Did I get it right? Oh, gosh. You wouldn't believe what I have to carry in my brain. Okay, so I believe what? Do you know what you believe?
Thinking about it.
Okay, think about it. You know what you believe? Think of it. Do you see we don't give enough time to what we believe? That's our foundation. That's what we stand on. So why do you want to write one? It's inspiration. If you want to change your life, if you want to stay connected with who you are, if you want to connect with people. And not only that, but let me tell you what, when I wrote my manifesto, this is what I believe. They did a study in NASA, in the very beginning of NASA. And they had the astronauts, they did that, Catherine. They put goggles on them that reversed everything. And so everything was upside down, okay? And they had to live in that, and they couldn't take them off. They had to wear them the whole time. So here they are, their whole perception, reality has been turned upside down. And they had to wear that. And what they found, that on the 30th day, one of the astronauts, everything in the cabin totally reversed again. Went upright. And then it happened the next day to the next one and the next one. And so what they surmised from that is it took 30 days in order to change your perception of something. They tried it also with 14 days and it didn't hold. So I took that premise in my workshop with my clients, the participants in my workshop, and said, this is what I want you to do. I want you to write down what you believe and what you want. And you're going to read it every day for 30 days. And so because I believe I have to do what I ask people to do, I did the same thing. When I got to the 30th day, you had to read it twice a day. And if you missed a day, you had to start all over. Okay? So I had one in my office, I had one in my car, and one at the house. Because I was not going to start over. So at 30 days, I took it to 60, I took it to 90, I took it to 120, Math's not my strong suit. Okay. So eventually, when I hit the 285th day, things were happening all along that were really shifting, but when the 285th day happened, it was like, oh my God. My life did a huge change. It was amazing. I still read that twice a day, every day. That's the commitment that you make to self. That's the investment. Investment isn't always money. Investment is time and knowing what you believe in. Here it is. So anybody that wants a copy of the slides and the audio, just my assistant got mad at me because I kept doing this wrong. So I hope I'm doing it right. And I will also send you the, I believe, handouts that go along with this. And it'll show up again at the end. So, what do you believe? So you really need to find out, what do you stand on? One of my clients, we were meeting last week, and this is what was happening. She was able to stand up to the CEO of her company and say, that is not right. I am not going to do that. My people deserve this, and this. And we do not treat people according to rank or level. That is wrong. She knows what she believed. And let me tell you what, he did not get in her way, did he? What do you believe that you are willing to stand on it? What are you willing to believe that somebody cannot pull the wool over your eyes, or that you are willing to stand on regardless? Because when you know what you stand on, whose shoulders you stand on, what you stand for, you are a rock, and to your point, you can walk in and ask. In the round table I have, one of my guys was talking about asking what his value was for the company that he was interviewing with. And one of my guys pipes up and he says, I know my value. And my value is non-negotiable. And he has never taken a step back. Because when you come in, have you noticed sometimes when somebody walks into a room, it's formidable? I mean, you can feel their presence. You find yourself acting a different way, you know? But there's something about them. That's the presence of knowing who you are. That's the presence of knowing what you believe. That's the presence of how you come across. That is powerful. So what happens is the fear and the uncertainty and the discomfort, that is what your compass is. That is your compass towards growth. Because if you're not growing, what happens to muscles that are not worked? They atrophy. You can no longer use them. So how do you do it? How do you do it? You do something today that your future self will thank you for. So what could you do today? Is it you write your manifesto? Is it that you you write something for your book? Is it that you make a phone call you don't want to make? What is it? Don't make this hard. It's not hard if you make it easy. But we try to eat that whole frickin' elephant. And the stories I can tell you that I know about some elephants, okay? So think about it. I'll get there. I get so excited. So I'm going to come back to 1 degree can change, not can. If you change 1 degree, you will change the trajectory of your life. And that's about mindsets. Those are the incantations. Those are, I'll never make, I'll never make enough money, or I'll never make more money to do whatever, or I'll never get promoted for that, or I'm a woman. I'm a woman. One of the things that does concern me is that what we give energy to expands. And so if we're constantly talking about how we're mistreated, instead of doing something about it, the women who sacrificed, to Danetta's word, the women who sacrificed before us, Most of you don't know. Has anybody gone back and read about the suffragettes that were chained, that were killed, that starved to death? Talk about sacrifice. Those are the people, those are the women whose shoulders we stand on. And I want to do honor for them. And so therefore, if they could stand up for womanhood and be willing to die for it, I think I can ask for a raise. I don't think they're going to throw me in jail for that. At the base of your brain, there is a bundle of nerves about the size of the end of your thumb. It's right here. Can you see mine? Okay. And it's the RAS. And what the RAS, it does many things, but the thing we care about is it's a filter system. And what the RAS does is it filters. So it filters according to your past, historically. So if I said, you know what, I'm going to put you in a room because you tell me, Cecilia, I only attract screwy men. Okay? So I say, okay, I'm going to put you in a room with 500 men. Only one man will be screwy. The other 499 will be functional. Which one will you find? If your history is screwy, the RAS is going to find it. So if you believe you're never going to get that job, or you believe you're not going to get the promotion that you want, or you're not going to be able to get that money, then the RAS goes, you're right. Because the universe only has a one-word vocabulary. Yes. Oh, they're never going to let me do that. Yep, you're right. They're never going to pay me. Yep, you're right. He's not going to ask me out again. Yep, you're right. So be very careful to how you frame your thoughts, because you're going to get yes. You're going to get yes. My nephew right now, I got an NBA snowboard, I got an NBA. No matter what you say, Nicholas, it's yes. So you just have to decide what it is. But he can't decide what it is because he doesn't know who he is, because he doesn't know what he believes. Do your manifesto. And emotions. You know, in our corporate culture, they're not really big on emotions. They're not real big on those things. They're messy. They get really messy. It's not that you cannot have your emotions, but it's about acknowledging the emotions. And so we all want to keep a certain decorum, if you will, in corporate. But that doesn't mean that you still can't find a place to go have those emotions. Because that's another way that we lose energy. We take all of our emotions, we stick them in a trunk, we sublimate them, we close it, and then we sit on it. And it's doing this all the time. Because emotions are things, and they want out, and you're not letting them out. So if all your energy is going to hold your emotions down, guess what? You got no energy to do anything. You have no energy to go in and ask for that raise. You have no energy to do anything. So that's another thing in that composition book I told you about, is write them down. Give them a voice. They're telling you things that have you ever said, la la la, la la la, ooh, I don't have much time.
Do you have to read it?
Huh?
Do you have to read it or just write it and never look at it?
You never have to look at it again if you don't want to. Confidence. So when was the last time you did something for the first time? We're scared to be with people that they might see that we're not perfect. And let me tell you what, if you suffer from perfectionism, you suffer from insecurity. The reason why we get into perfectionism is so that we don't have to feel that we feel insecure, instead of embracing our insecurity and finding ways that we can get comfortable and learn things so that we don't feel insecure. I dated him. It didn't last very long. He flew off. You got to get out of your comfort zone. If I leave you with nothing else, when do I shut down? Thank you. So this is what happens. You're at work. When you first take on the new job, you have a real high anxiety. But then you start learning things. Oh, I'm learning. I know where the bathroom is. I know some of the politics. I know who likes who doesn't. I know that fool over there is just wacko. Okay, and then you get in your comfort zone. Deadly place to be. Deadly, deadly. That's where complacency happens. So your thing is you want to continue learning. Because if you're not learning, you're not growing. Learners are earners. Okay, got that? Leaders are learners, and learners are earners. Because when you can get outside the comfort zone, that's where the magic happens. But people don't want to get outside their comfort zone. They don't want to do anything new. I really want you to think about that. When was the last time you did something for the first time? Because we don't want to look foolish. We don't want people, oh my God. It reminds me of Barbara Streisand in Funny Girl. The Ziegfeld Folly director said, can you skate? Of course I can skate. So she's up there, she's knocking everybody over, she's falling over, she can't skate worth a flying flip. And he says, I thought you said you could skate. She said, I didn't know, I'd never tried before. That's the attitude you want. So this is what's really important. Here's your current comfort zone. We were talking about do something. Do something incremental. Do something. Make it attainable toward what the book is over here, this book list. Okay? So this is the diagram that you want to draw. Put what's going on for you now, what you're happy about, what you're not happy about, and then tick out 4 to start with things that are attainable. That if you did them and did them consistently, that in 6 months you would have a difference. You gotta stretch. You liking those heels? You gotta stretch. And you have to adapt. So this is part of it. This is part of the adversity because we want to be comfortable. When it got so cold this winter, I had a friend in Chicago laughing at me. It was -10. Okay, and I'm going, it's all the way down to 65. Fail. This is to Danetta's point too. That I think comes into this, that sacrifice. It's also successful people know they will fail. They know that if they don't put themselves in a position of adversity, that they're never going to create the ability to win. That's like my guy with the rejection. And then unsuccessful people play it safe. They fly under the radar. But if you'll notice, a great deal of them they're found out eventually. I mean, sometimes you can just stay under the radar so far. In some companies, they want to know if you're a play it safe. They won't hire you if you're a play it safe. So you've got to know the culture of your company. So, tweet this. Rejection is your friend. I have a thing that I give my clients. It's a piece of paper, and it's got on it 99 no's and 1 yes. And their job is to go out immediately and get as many rejections as they possibly can. Because the more rejection you can get, the more no's you can get, the closer you are to getting what it is that you want. So just get it done. I can see y'all just whipping up a form right now in Excel. And you don't let rejection define you. You practice and you learn to invite it in. It's intrinsic. It is a part of life. The things that we're trying to get rid of are a part of life. In our generation, sitting here in this room, we don't know adversity. You go back and look at your grandparents. You go back and look at your parents in some cases, depending on your age. You go back and look at your great-grandparents. Do any of you watch Who Do You Think You Are? Sunday night, you get 50,000 points to you. Who do you think you are? That's your homework. And I would like everybody to send me an email that they saw it Sunday night. Oh, you got 50,000 points too. Excellent.
No, I said 5 1.
Oh, I only have 5 minutes. Oh, wow. Okay. I am are the 2 most powerful words in the world. I am. If you look at Scripture, I am that I am. It doesn't matter what religion you go to. It's I am that I am. So you've got to be very careful when you use that word, I am. When you say, I am stupid, I am not going to be able to do that, I am this, You are using the two most powerful words to take you into a black vortex. When you are going to sleep, you are entering the subconscious. You are entering the most powerful place that we can go. Okay? And while you're sleeping, whatever thoughts you take with you into the sleep are imprinting all night long. So if you're saying, I'm scared, I'm scared, I'm scared, I'm worried, I'm worried, I'm worried, that is what is going to imprint all night long. And when you wake up, you are going to even be more anxious, more worried, more scared. This is what I want. The kick-ass manifesto for Sparkalicious living. Okay? I am strong. I am worthy. I am beautiful. I am imperfect. And I am me. That's what I want you to take into the sleep state that's running around all night long imprinting. I am strong. I am amazing. And I walk in these freaking shoes and I don't even know what that's about. And everything that we have talked about today, if you don't do this, none of that is going to work. Did anybody ever see 3 rocks or?
Yeah, 3 rocks.
Okay. So this is what happened every time that he would be getting a message. I receive. If you don't receive, you are like Teflon. So if I give you a compliment, oh no, Cecilia, this is an old hairdo I've worn for years. No. If I say, hey, that was really right. Oh no, I didn't do it right. I didn't even go into forking this time because that's a whole nother ballgame. But if you're not receiving what people are telling you about you, that is amazing. If you can't receive, like one of my clients that I met with yesterday, or whatever day this week, before I came in, so she had pulled off this massive I don't know how many $1 million project. It was just mind-boggling. My brain couldn't handle it. Okay, it was huge. And I said, so, can you take a breath? She said, yes. I said, can you breathe that in? Because we've been working on her receiving now for 3 years. And she said, yes, I can. And she said, I think about you every time one of my people cannot receive their kudos, who cannot receive and really breathe in the accomplishments, who have an accomplishment file. If you do not have an accomplishment file, you are doing yourself an injustice. If you do not have a kudo file, you are doing yourself an injustice. That is one way that you can learn to begin to receive. So let me tell you what I wish for you. And if I could wish anything for you, and Liz used the word, Danetta used it, I wish for you great adversity. And not only do I wish for you adversity, but I wish for you adversity that you learn from. I wish for you experience that builds you into who you were born to be. And I also wish for you a few red sails in the sunset, because we all need those after we've been on rocky road. But you're the one you've been waiting for. Not somebody else to tell you you're okay. Not somebody else to tell you women are all right. Not somebody else to tell you, wow, you're amazing, you're smart, and all of those wonderful things. You're the one that needs to start that. You're the one that needs to light that candle, that light that is within you, to flame that ember that is within you, that wants you to fan it, wants you to grow it, wants you to embrace, because when you do it for you, it pours out on everybody else. So you're the one you've been waiting for. And let me tell you what, it takes courage and it takes strength to be all whom you were given life to be. The life your parents gave you, if you want to honor them, go beyond. Tell them, thank you for everything you gave me. It was more than enough. Even if, like at one point I was so mad at them, but I really got that they gave me life. And they gave me more than enough. And they gave me everything I needed to take what they gave me and build it. And that's the gift they gave you. And when you don't use that, and when you don't embrace that, you don't honor them. And you don't honor the shoulders they stand on and the shoulders they stand on. So honor yourself. Honor them. Be the captain of your destiny. Oh. Found them. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you, Cecilia. We really appreciate it. Now, Anna from Deloitte has got a gift.
I'm going to receive.
Appreciation.
Celia, that was so inspiring and so exciting. I think everybody loved it. So
Thank you.
this is on behalf of WEN and Deloitte just to thank you.
Thank you,
Great
Wynn.
presentation.
Thank you.